To this day, no rhythm game has managed to outshine A Dance of Fire and Ice in terms of creating something with such a unique and charming identity. It's a journey I never intended on embarking on, but I caught myself smiling over and over again playing it, and even went as far as to speedrun the main 12 worlds. Even just reviewing the base game itself, I was bewildered to see such intricate rhythms being used for such accessible worlds at the same time, especially in the way they did it via different shapes and angles. It's one of the few rhythm games out there that throws you into the wild right away, and you come out learning a lot in just a few hours. It's infectiously enjoyable, and you do eventually learn how to read patterns outside of the confines of just musical memory. While the thousands of community-driven levels have kept the community going strong, other players and myself were concerned when there wasn't a single official new world added since March 2020. Sure, there were a couple worlds added relating to the Muse Dash series, but these felt a bit underwhelming given what the community had created by now. Thankfully, the team updated those who were patiently waiting, with a DLC teaser for what they'd title Neo Cosmos. TaroNuke from the Not ITG scene would come abroad and be the head honcho for the direction of these 5 new worlds. If you don't know who TaroNuke is, this is pretty much what he's known for. We're in for some good shit, aren't we? Neo Cosmos is perhaps the most ingenious piece of work I have ever seen in an official rhythm game. Throwing someone like TaroNuke behind the wheel and just being like, yeah, just do your thing, man, was a fantastic choice by the team, and this is perhaps the first time I've ever felt emotionally invested in a game like this, period. The worlds have taken a serious ramp up in difficulty, the gimmicks are taken to this wacky and experimental level. It's obvious the team took a lot of risks with these bold ideas, given what their more casual player base is used to, and it could not have paid off more in the end. You will come out of this DLC learning a lot more than you ever could have learned in any of the 12 previous worlds. But trust me when I say that you're going to want to play the first 12 if you have very little hours with this game prior. The DLC starts you out in this barren, obfuscated world where there are these random clumps of blocks connected through these thin, rainbow loops. Initially, I had no idea what to do even when the directions were right in front of me, but I eventually figured out that you had to hold the last note, let the orb do a loop-de-loop, and let go when you get to the end. Once you make your way up, you're met with a character who represents some sort of omnipotence for this world you've ended up in, and it's your job to save everything. The characters throughout this game in general don't have a thorough identity, and the story is pretty generic, but it's still fun to interact with in the small quantities it brings. It's very self-aware, innocent type of writing that throws some cheeky one-liners here and there, and I think that's really all you need for a rhythm game like this. Immediately in the first tutorial, you realize that the first few seconds of this DLC will actually be a core mechanic throughout the game, which is release timing. I completely hate this mechanic. I find it boring, I find it completely unfun, I do not enjoy it. However, they managed to make it kind of fun. There's something so uniquely satisfying and intuitive with the loops the orbs go through, and they're never overwhelming at any point in time throughout this story. They're implemented as a more artistic representation of the music, which I can honestly get behind, because I found myself actually enjoying certain parts of worlds that utilize these quite a bit. This is the extent of what you need to get past the first world, but the second world hits you with these blue and red boys, aka mid-spins. The blue is a delayed 16th note, while the red has you get right into it after you hit the bass note first. Not to mention these just pass on by instead of you alternating orbs. The highlight for this world for me is definitely the end. The blinking effects as the song comes to a close feel so surreal, and the finishing note is just teasing you as it slows down more and more. Not to mention this part that probably got almost everyone on their first playthrough. World 3 is where I knew TaroNuke took full control on No Hints Here. It's a fun, hyperactive, and interactive chart where you race this character named Charlie, who is basically the Overseer's appointee. If you're familiar with Mawaru or WarioWare, you're in for perhaps one of the most charming experiences rhythm games have to offer. Kicking soccer balls, giving high fives, invisible tiles, warp tiles, math? It's impressive what TaroNuke was able to throw in here given he's restricted a bit more compared to a game like Not ITG. For my money though, the dragon lasers and the meteor parts are easily my favorite. Nothing is overdone and nothing feels underwhelming here. After you've mustered your way through this mini-maze, you're thrown into World 4. Nothing too mind-blowing here is introduced in the tutorial until you encounter this. I'm not sure if this has been informally introduced before in a custom level, but this blew my goddamn mind initially once I saw how well it really worked. Even though I almost lost my mind trying to get used to it when it came down to actually playing the real world, I eventually saw how practical it was and got a much better understanding of it. Even after you beat this world, the game still wants you thinking more with this weirdly brief but fun puzzle game. I couldn't help but smile at this because while it seems annoying, you can't help but appreciate how hilariously creative this is. The last world is basically everything you've learned all put into one level. The god of the world is counteracting you with these jarringly big blue data hexagons, more insane puzzles where one of them is a straight up race to the finish line, but where everything ties in beautifully is the characters coming together to go against their roles to aid you in this last theatrical hoorah flurried with satisfying 16th and 24th note transitions, teetering between the 2 and 3 orbs to complement the rhythms further. The ending is gorgeous. You know it's over, and you're glad it's over from the time you've put in, but as soon as you hit that last tile, you also can't help but wish it wasn't either. These vague characters actually felt like they had some solid meaning to them, and all of a sudden, you want more even though you never really cared that much in the first place. The game isn't entirely over here though, as you're introduced to what are called slumpage levels, which are very popular in the not ITG scene. These are harder versions of the levels that sprinkle in a little something something to give your skills a run for your money. And for an official edition, these kicked my ass over and over again, but also included some of the most ingenious additions or modifications that still have me coming back to appreciate them again. Contrary to the 5 worlds, you only are offered 4 slumpage ones, and why that is a question we'll have to find out sooner or later. Neocosmos is a phenomenal piece of work by TaroNuke and 7th Beat Games. They took something that was already extremely well made and turned those concepts up to 1000%. TaroNuke transitioned so seamlessly into this game and knew when to go all in and when to hold back to retain the game's original charm. While there are little things like strangely placed checkpoints and slightly one-dimensional music, I was blown away by what TaroNuke had to offer here, even with everything I've experienced in not ITG already. As much as I'd like to give this a just about perfect score, I know the team has an ace in their sleeve that will blow the entire rhythm game scene away with something bigger and bolder, whether that be in a few months or a few years. Until then, I'm just gonna leave this here, and we'll see if the team can deliver. Thank you to all my patrons for supporting the channel, and if you want to support the channel for more content like this, come on over and become a patron, and hey, drop a sub if you're new here too. I'll see you on whatever video I upload next, and take care.